Cartilage does not grow back. Once it is gone, it is gone. That is not a worst-case scenario. That is basic anatomy. The cartilage inside your knees, hips, and shoulders has no blood supply. It cannot repair itself the way a cut on your skin can. Every habit on this list is wearing it down right now, silently, without pain, until the day the pain becomes impossible to ignore. By that point, in most people over 50, the damage is already decades old. And the most dangerous part is that none of these habits feel harmful while they are happening. There is one habit on this list that researchers consider the single most destructive daily behavior for joint health in adults over 50. It is not exercise. It is not diet. It is something almost everyone in this age group does for most of their waking hours. You will know exactly what it is before this video ends. If you want to protect your joints, your heart, and your brain as you age, subscribe to Dr. Michael Vance. New videos every single day, built on research, no filler. Habit number 1, sitting for more than 30 minutes at a time without moving. The human joint was not designed for stillness. Cartilage gets its nutrients from the fluid inside the joint, called joint fluid. That fluid circulates only when the joint moves. When you sit in the same position for an extended period, the cartilage in your hips and knees is compressed on one side and starved of fluid on the other. The compressed area stops receiving nutrients. The cells inside begin to die. A study published in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine tracked over 80,000 adults and found that sitting for more than 6 hours per day was associated with a significantly higher rate of arthritis progression compared to those sitting fewer than 3 hours. The damage was not caused by a single long sitting session. It accumulated from years of repeated daily compression without recovery. After 50, the joint fluid in your body becomes thinner and less effective at cushioning and nourishing cartilage. That makes extended sitting more damaging than it was at 30 or 40. The fix does not require exercise. It requires interruption. Standing up and taking 10 steps every 30 minutes pumps fresh joint fluid through the cartilage and prevents the compression cycle from completing. You do not need a standing desk. You need a timer set to 30 minutes. Therefore, if you sit for most of the day, whether at a desk, in a car, or on a sofa, that pattern is the baseline. Cause of most accelerated joint degeneration in adults over 50, and the habit at number 2 makes it significantly worse every time you leave the house. Habit number 2, wearing flat shoes or walking barefoot on hard floors. The foot is the foundation of every joint above it. When the foot strikes the ground without adequate cushioning or arch support, the impact force travels upward through the ankle, the knee, and the hip. A study published in the journal Arthritis and Rheumatism measured the joint forces in adults walking in flat, unsupported shoes versus shoes with proper arch support and cushioning. Flat shoes increased compressive force on the knee joint by up to 30% compared to supportive footwear, 30% more force on every step. The average person over 50 takes between 4,000 and 6,000 steps per day. That is 4,000 to 6,000 additional compression events on already thinning cartilage every single day, year after year. The most damaging scenarios are walking barefoot on tile, hardwood, or concrete, and wearing flat canvas shoes with no arch support. Both transmit impact force directly into the joint with no absorption whatsoever. After 50, the natural fat pad on the bottom of the foot begins to thin. That fat pad is your body's built-in shock absorber. As it diminishes, external shoe cushioning becomes more important than it was at any earlier point in your life. The shoes you wear inside your house matter just as much as the ones you wear outside. Therefore, soft-soled supportive footwear at all times is not comfort, it is joint preservation. Habit number 3, sleeping in a position that puts sustained pressure on one joint. Most people sleep in the same position every night for decades. If that position places one hip, one shoulder, or one knee under sustained pressure for 7 or 8 hours, it creates exactly the same compression damage as prolonged sitting, but for far longer and with no opportunity to interrupt it. Side sleeping with the knees pressed together is one of the most common causes of hip and knee degeneration that goes undiagnosed. The upper knee drops inward under its own weight through the night, rotating the hip joint out of alignment and compressing the inner surface of the knee for hours. A pillow placed between the knees eliminates that rotation entirely and reduces joint compression significantly. That is a free, immediate fix. Stomach sleeping forces the neck into rotation for the entire sleep period, compressing the joints on one side of the cervical spine all night. It also flattens the natural curve of the lower back, increasing pressure on the lumbar joints. For adults over 50 with any existing neck or lower back changes, stomach sleeping accelerates that damage. Every single night without exception. The position your body wakes up stiff in is almost always the position that was compressing a joint all night. That morning stiffness is not a normal feature of aging. It is a signal your joints are sending you every day. Habit number 4. Carrying a bag or heavy item on the same shoulder every day. The spine is designed to bear load symmetrically. When you carry a bag on one shoulder consistently, the body tilts to compensate. The shoulder on the carrying side rises, the hip on the opposite side drops, the spine curves laterally to maintain balance. Every muscle and joint in that compensation chain works outside its normal range every single time you carry that load. Research published in the journal Spine found that adults who carried loads on one side daily had measurably higher rates of neck and lower back disc degeneration than those who distributed load evenly. The effect was significantly more pronounced in participants over 50, where baseline disc hydration is already reduced with age. The damage accumulates over years and presents as neck pain, shoulder impingement, or hip pain that seems to have no obvious cause. It does have a cause. You have been carrying it on the same side for 20 years. Switching sides every single time you pick up your bag costs nothing and immediately changes the load pattern your spine is managing. Habit number 5. Avoiding strength training because your joints already hurt. This is the habit that causes more irreversible joint damage than almost any other in adults over 50. The instinct is completely understandable. Your knee hurts. Certain movements make it worse, so you rest it. That response feels responsible. But it is one of the most damaging decisions a person in this age group can make. The muscles surrounding a joint are its primary protection. The muscles at the front and back of the thigh support the knee. The muscles of the outer hip support the hip joint. The muscles around the shoulder support the shoulder joint. When those muscles weaken from disuse, the joint is forced to absorb forces the muscle was previously managing. Cartilage compression increases. Pain worsens. The person rests more. The muscle weakens further. The damage compounds. A study published in Arthritis Care and Research followed adults over 50 with knee joint pain over a 4-year period. Those who maintained regular resistance training had 47% less cartilage loss compared to those who avoided physical activity. The exercise group also reported lower pain levels, not because the joint was being spared, but because the surrounding muscle was doing the work the cartilage no longer had to do alone. The distinction is the type of loading. High-impact loading on hard surfaces accelerates cartilage damage. Low-impact resistance training, cycling, swimming, and walking on soft ground builds the surrounding muscle without harmful compression. Therefore, the answer to joint pain in this age group is never rest. It is the right kind of movement, applied consistently. Habit number 6. Drinking fewer than 6 cups of water per day. Cartilage is approximately 70 to 80% water. The fluid inside your joints is predominantly water. When you are chronically underhydrated, both become thicker, less resilient, and less able to do their jobs. Cartilage becomes more brittle under compression. Joint fluid becomes less effective at distributing load across the joint. Surface evenly. A study from the Penn State College of Medicine found that even mild dehydration of 1 to 2% of body weight reduced joint fluid volume and increased its thickness enough to measurably change how joints absorbed impact. 1 to 2% dehydration is the level most people experience throughout a typical day without feeling noticeably thirsty. After 50, the sensation of thirst becomes a less reliable indicator of hydration status. Most adults in this age group are mildly dehydrated for most of the day without realizing it. Their joints are absorbing the cost of that invisibly. The target is 6 to 8 cups of plain water per day in addition to other fluids. Joints hydrated consistently perform measurably better under load than those that are not. That is not a theory. It is confirmed by direct measurement. Habit number 7. Ignoring the first signs of joint discomfort and pushing through. Pain is not weakness. Pain is data. When a joint sends an early warning signal, it is reporting that something in the loading pattern, the alignment, or the surrounding muscle is not right. Pushing through that signal without understanding it causes the body to compensate. Compensation means other joints take on forces they were never designed for a person with mild left knee discomfort who adjusts their gait to protect that knee will begin to overload the right knee, the left hip, and the lower back within weeks. That compensation pattern becomes automatic. By the time the original knee issue is addressed, 2 or 3 additional joints have been damaged by the altered movement pattern. The pain has moved. The original cause is often forgotten. The most common response to joint discomfort in adults over 50 is to wait and see whether it resolves on its own. Waiting is not neutral. It is time during which the compensation pattern is becoming more ingrained. The surrounding muscle is weakening from altered use, and the cartilage is continuing to wear at the site of the original problem. Tonight, stand on one leg for 30 seconds on each side without holding on to anything. If you cannot balance for 30 seconds on either leg, your hip stabilizers are weak, and your joints are currently absorbing forces that your muscles should be handling. That single test costs nothing and tells you more about your joint health trajectory than any symptom you have been monitoring or ignoring. Subscribe to Dr. Michael Vance for a new video every day. This channel covers what your body is doing after 50 and exactly what you can do about it before the damage becomes permanent.